Hi, welcome to this video about Mars Curiosity, a REST library for Embarcadero Delphi. In this video we will focus on parameters and how to handle them in your application code. My name is Andrea Magni, I'm a computer engineer and I live in Italy. I'm a long-time Delphi developer and an Embarcadero MVP. Feel free to contact me using my website or on most popular social networks. Before focusing on the topic of this video, I want to thank Augustin Ortu, that is a developer that recently sent me a pull request for Mars Curiosity with a nice addition that is an IDE wizard to build your very first Mars Curiosity application server. So let's have a look. And after you have built and installed this package, you will find that if you click on new items on the Delphi IDE, you will find a new category listed and a new entry that is Mars Curiosity Server Application Wizard. Just click OK and the wizard will build let's say an empty project for you with all set up to run your first Mars Curiosity server. Just save the project where you want to, let's call it test1. There's a main form, a unit containing the resources for your server, and it is very similar to the Mars template project you can find in the demos folder. So it has a single resource registered, that is the hello world, with a simple get, and if you build and run the project, you will see that it is up and running, listening on the default port that is 8080, and if you use Postman to ask a GET request on your server, it responds, so everything is working. So thanks again to Augustin Ortu for this nice addition, and we can proceed with the topics of the day. As I said in a previous video, Mars Curiosity provides you an abstraction over the HTTP protocol and some of its internals and concepts. While implementing your application server, you will end up a lot dealing with requests made by the client that are matched by the Mars engine automatically against your resources and sub-resources. But also, these requests carry with them parameters and their values. So having a standard mechanism to gather these values and easily pass them to the application developer, it's a nice feature to have. So if we have a look to the standard HTTP GET request, we can notice that on the request line we can have path parameters that are values embedded into the URL path we are asking for, and query parameters that are a pair of name and value, and you can have multiple path params or query params in the same request. Also, each HTTP request comes with some headers that you may want to read in your application code because they can contain some useful information. The header param is the name of the abstraction that the Mars Curiosity library provides you to have access to these values. Similarly, you can have a post that is a very common HTTP request made to send some data to the server, and the post can have a body part, but the body can represent very different content. So in this example you can see what is an HTTP form that is very common when having to deal with web applications. Another example of post, very common these days, is when you want to send a piece of JSON, a JSON object in this case, to the server side. So what you have to do is to simply call the post method on some path, and we are saying that we are sending application JSON as a media type, and the body contains the load of this request. That is actually a piece of a JSON representation of an object. That's it. Let's have a look on how you can deal with these different kind of parameters, so path param, query param, form param, and body param, and header param for headers with Mars Curiosity. I've prepared a demo to showcase how Mars Curiosity deals with all these kinds of parameters to ease the work of a developer. So if we open the Mars parameters demos, you can find into the demos folder parameters. You will notice that this project has two resources. The first one is the Hello World resource, and will show us how to deal with query param and path parameters, and also the body parameters of a post request, while the simple form resource will show us how to get access to headers using the header param, and also to the form param of an input form sent through HTTP post. So before we start, I want you to have a look at these three methods. The first one simply provides us a good name for an ini file to use into our application. It is just a demo, so I've used ini files, and I didn't care about synchronization and so on. And I've implemented two methods, save to file and load from files, that respectively are used to store a new translation for the hello world string in a different language. And the load from file tries to load from the ini file a translation of the hello world string in a given language. They are very trivial to they are implemented very with one line of code, more or less. And I will use them to provide the response of my server. So if we have a look to the hello world resource, we can notice that I've decorated two different methods with the get attribute. So this means that the engine will select one in front of a get request from the client. It will select one of these two methods depending on how the request is made. That means how the URL looks like, and specifically the second method, the say method, is decorated with a path parameter stating that there's a times parameter of our request. The curly brackets are used to identify a parameter of my get request. So you can also notice that this say method and this times parameter matches by name the Delphi argument of this method, and also that this argument is decorated with the path param attribute. So obviously here I'm saying I'm expecting this method to be called with a value of the times argument that is retrieved by the path param with the same name. The name matching can be overridden by passing to the path param attribute the name of the attribute. So this is exactly the same functionality. I can omit the name if it matches with the Delphi argument. So let's have a look to the implementation, and it is very trivial. I will try to load from file of a specific language my hello world string, and I also provide a default value. So if I ask for a language that is not into the ini file, I will get the default string that is hello world in English. Let's have a look to the ini file to see what are our possibilities. The ini file is here, is named hello world ini with, and you can see I've provided 3 different translations in 3 different languages. So once I've my hello world string, either if it's the default English translation or the specific translation, I will call dupe string passing times as argument, and I will have my final result with a hello world representation in a specific language multiplied times times. So if I try to run my demo, my server is up and running, and if I use Postman to call http localhost 8080 rest default hello world, and remember my resource was decorated with the path attribute saying that I'm expecting a parameter after hello world. Let's say 3. If I execute my request, what I get is 3 times hello world. But also you notice that there's the lang parameter that is a query param, so I can simply write lang question mark lang equals, for example, français, and this is the result. As you can see, my method looked into the ini files for the French translation of a hello world string. It find the translation, and then it multiplies the result for times. So this is very easy. So now we can have a look to the other get method, that is say once, that is simply a version of my say method that has no times parameter, implicitly stating that the times is 1. Okay, so these two methods are standard Delphi methods, so the implementation couldn't be any simpler than this. I have my say once Delphi method with my query param lang, and the implementation is very simple. I can call the other method say, passing a const value 1 as first argument, and passing through my lang argument to it. So what happens if I call hello world is that is replying me hello world in English, and if I add the lang Deutsch, I will get hello world in German. So this is a quite common situation while implementing a REST application server, and as you can see, it's very easy to achieve with mass curiosity. The last method in this resource is store, that is mapped onto the post HTTP method on a path that assumes to receive a lang path param. So what I can see here is that my Delphi method has two arguments that are lang and body. Lang is a path param and it will be matched against this prototype. And the other one is body, that is a body param representing the content of the post request sent by the client. The implementation is very, very easy. And what I'm trying to do is, okay, send me, the client sent me the translation of the hello world string in a certain language. I will store this value into the ini file and return to the client, okay, I saved the language that you passed in. So my server is still running. I simply have to change in Postman the kind of request I want to make. And as I said, I want to write a new language. For example, I will add the Italian translation. So I can write IT as a path param and fill in the body of this request with ciao mondo and send my request. You can read the result here, the response, and you can read saved IT. So if I reload my ini files, I will notice that it has been written. And now if I go back to my get request and ask for hello world, this is the English translation, and this is now the Italian translation. So I've added a translation to my repository of hello worlds. Wow. I want you to concentrate now on the second resource, that is the simple form resource. As I said, each HTTP request comes with a bunch of headers, and a very common, most ubiquitous header is the host header. So this very, very simple get method will return the value of the host header. So the implementation is trivial. I've added a string in front of it just to have a more clear response to watch. And if we perform this get against simple form, this is the response. Okay, the host header of the request was localhost 8080. And that's it. It's easy as this. So the other method I want to show you is the get full name that is mapped against the post method of the simple form resource, and it is supposed to receive two form parameters, one named name and one surname. So again, the implementation is trivial and couldn't be any simpler than this. And this is an example of what happens if you perform a post on simple form, and in the body you want to add the parameters name Andrea and the surname Magni. If you execute this request, what you get is full name, and is my name followed by my surname. So it is very straightforward, and this kind of request is very common into web applications. So I hope this is clear enough to demonstrate how easy it is to deal with parameters in Mars Curiosity. So thanks for watching, and here are the links for getting some resources about Mars Curiosity, and feel free to contact me if you have any question or suggestion about this video or the library itself. Thank you and bye bye.